All right, Jesse on fire. Welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about UFC 259, right? I bet everybody's just been sitting around waiting on bated breath. They're like, when is Jesse on fire going to weigh in on all of this UFC 259 drama? And now is that time. So I'm just going to say this out of the gate. That was an incredible event, okay? Now, I realize the last fight was kind of like, and then the Aljamain Sterling finish, was weird, obviously. I'm going to talk about that first thing. And the Santos and Ratchik fight was kind of whatever. But given that 3 out of the 5 main card fights were kind of, whatever, the prelims and pre-prelims were so bananas that I still came out of that event like, wow, like what an incredible event. That's how good. That's probably the best pre-prelims. It is actually, I'm going to say this right now. That was the best pre-prelims card I have ever seen. Ever. The best fights, the best fighters. Incredible. Prelims too. Like seriously. Amazing. Like amazing fights. So I'm going to go through each of those. I want to talk to you about what I thought, because there's literally takeaways from every single fight. Like not just like, hey, here's what happened. It's like, these are things that are going to matter going forward. Like basically, most of them. But anyway, first thing I want to talk about though is Aljamain Sterling and the Peter Yan fight. But before I do that, obviously, if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell. Tell your friends, okay? How else are they going to know about this MMA channel? There's a million people trying to do this, but none of them have got the gutsies like I do. I'm just a fan, man. Like, I don't think that most people love the sport like I do. I mean, lots of people do. But I don't think people are capable of loving things as much as I am. Like, I feel things real deep. And there is nothing that I love more than the sport. I love it. I love it. I love it. And so that's why you'd watch this channel, because I vomit out my love for the sport and tell you what I think. Anyway, so here's the deal. So let's start with Aljamain Sterling and Peter Yan, because I made a video about this last night on Instagram. So if any of you guys have seen it, I apologize. I'm going to rehash some of it. But, I saw Cody Garbrandt, getting bent out of shape that Aljamain was going to win the belt or was taking the belt home or something. And I saw some other people saying that online. I'm like, you guys, what are you talking? I don't defend that position that Aljamain should not get the belt. I'm serious, seriously, defend it. Okay. Because as much as this is like a fight game, it's the fight game. It's also a sport with rules, okay? I realize, people think that, there is a mentality in this sport where, the same rules apply as if you were, in an alleyway behind a bar and, you're like, hey, step outside, pal. Let's handle this like a couple men, huh? Let's see what you got. And then, if someone pretended to be hurt to get out of that fight, then sure. And the point is, though, I don't think Aljamain was pretending, number one. And also, but even if you are hurt in the environment outside the bar in the alley, being hurt's irrelevant, bud. You got to get up and fight. That's the whole point, though. This is a sport, okay? It's not the alleyway behind. There are rules, okay? The equivalent would be going out in the bar and saying you're going to fight like a man, and the guy pulls out a bottle and breaks it over the guy's head when he's not looking, okay? That's the exact same, that's identical to what Peter Yan did, okay? I'm not saying, it's not as underhanded, it's not as much of a bitch-made move as someone who did that, but as it relates to, the rules of what you're doing, it's a sport. You can't knee people when they have their knee on the ground, or their hand, or both, so he broke the rule. Whether someone said it to him in the corner or not, whatever. I'm not trying to chastise Peter Yan. I'm saying that the position that Aljamain shouldn't have won and taken home the belt is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's indefensible. Okay? He took dude, you want to get on the ground and just get on the ground and let a professional fighter knee you in the face. Okay? When you're not defending, just go like this and close your eyes and let a professional fighter like Peter Yan knee you in the grill. You want to know what is not, this is something that I feel like people don't grasp. Okay? Fighters are not superhuman. Okay? Fighters, their ability to absorb punishment is only as good as someone who is in equal shape. Okay, so take a person who's a track star who lifts weights and then trains their neck, whatever, all the things that Aljamain would do minus training to fight his entire life, okay? His ability to take a shot to the face is no different than a track star, okay? Like none. Just like your entire training is about moving so that when you get hit, you're not absorbing the full shot. It's like you're rolling with it. So even when it looks like a guy gets shot, when they slow it down, usually they're rolling it a little bit. You know what I mean? And so like, that's why guys look like they have Titanic chins, and some guys just do have Titanic chins. But if a guy who's completely defenseless and doesn't think he needs to worry about taking a shot, getting kneed in the face, I mean, he's no different than anybody else. He's a 135-pound dude who got kneed in the face when he's not looking. I mean, dude, and he should have to go back out there and fight after that when the guy broke the rules? That's ridiculous. He should. I mean, the other guy should be disqualified. You know what I mean? Like, that was a heavy, and if it wasn't such a heavy shot, then I would understand. I spoke to Eric Nixick, Aljo's coach from Extreme Couture, and I said, like, look, dude, like, it's a shitty outcome, but like, what's he supposed to do? And Eric's like, I totally agree. He's like, I actually just can't believe it took the ref so long to make such an obvious call. That's what I was saying too. I'm like, and you know what? That's the same ref. Hang on, I'm going to get ahead of myself. But in the Medic fight, okay, Medic, the most exciting prospect to come out of the prelims. But in the Medic fight, that was one of the most outlandish late stoppages I've ever seen. Ever. I mean, like, I will bring my wife in here and I will let her say to you what she said to my buddy who came over to watch the fights later, which is that I was screaming at the television, stop the fight, man. And I was screaming it for 45 to 50, maybe 60 seconds. Like, I've never, ever felt myself yelling for that long. Stop the fight, man. Like, stop the fight. What are you doing? And it was the same ref that was in there for the Aljamain who made Aljamain. Like, because here's the thing, yeah, of course, at a certain point, Aljamain probably could have, like, gotten up and walked out of there, but he knows his bell's rung. But he knows he can't really continue, so he does have to keep laying there, kind of going like this until the guy calls the fight off. And it was ridiculous. Why did he take so long? I mean, seriously, why did he take so long? And again, I challenge you guys, go watch the fight. So that's that, okay? End of story. Aljamain should have won. I mean, it's a shitty outcome, but it's Peter Yan's fault, okay? End of story. But I challenge you guys, go watch the Euros Medic versus Elon Cruz fight. Now, you're going to look at the time, if you didn't see it, that it was, he won by knockout in a minute 40, and you're going to go, how could this have been such a late stoppage? Well, he should have been done at 40 seconds, okay? Like, I would imagine, I don't recognize this ref. Maybe, I mean, who knows? Maybe you guys are going to be like, dude, this guy refs a million times. Whatever, okay? But I didn't recognize him, okay? And maybe the dude is like, geez, I don't want to be one of those guys that gets an early stoppage and looks bad. But my goodness, man. Listen, here's the thing. Just like Aljamain, the situation that he's in, where he's laying on his back, and at a certain point, he's like, okay, yeah, of course, I could stand up and walk out of here at this point, but I'm not going to fight. I'm not fighting. Like, I'm not fighting because now my bell's rung, okay? So I have to kind of lay here and wait for the ref to call it, okay? Well, when you're actually in the fight, okay, there are knockouts, and then there are, TKOs, right? Most of the time, when someone TKOs a fight, the ref comes in and they TKO it, the guy who is TKO'd is waiting for the ref to come in and TKO him, okay? Like, they're still in there defending themselves because they have a professional fighter on top of them smashing their face, okay? So you have to be defending. Like, you have to, like, be trying to, like, get position. That doesn't mean you don't want out of there, okay? Like, it doesn't mean you don't want out. You understand how hurt you can get in there? Have you ever been hit in the face by a professional fighter with a 3-ounce glove or taken a shin across the grill? Okay, and you find yourself not unconscious. Like, you understand how big of a gap there is between holy fuck, I'm done, and I'm unconscious? Like, you know what I'm saying? And when you're in this area where I'm done, like this guy has successfully hurt me enough. I'm not fighting back. I just want to be out of here. Like, this, it's a survival mechanism. Like, he has taken my physical ability to fight back away. Okay, like, I don't have it anymore. It's gone. Like, I'm done. But I have muscle memory, and I'm going to defend myself. Okay, but I want out. Okay, like, that is what it was so clear that that's what I'm looking at. This dude's done, man. He is fucking done. Stop the fight. Like, stop the fight. Anyway, so yeah, that's my intro into that fight. So obviously Medic won decisively, and he is a very exciting prospect. Uros Medic. He comes out of Shootbox apparently. So yeah, but God, Jesus, that finish was. I might be overhyping it now where you guys are going to watch it, but dude, at the time, I was literally screaming at my television for an entire minute. Stop the fucking fight. Anyway, so then that was the second fight. The first fight, Trevin Jones over Mario Batista. I would tell you guys to watch that fight because the finishing shot, this guy, he's an orthodox fighter and he switched stances. So he was fighting southpaw and he hit him with this step-in lead uppercut with his lead hand that was so sick. Like, so sick. First fight of the day, I was just like, damn. Then you followed up with Uros Medic, who beat a guy half to death. And then you got Amanda Lemos versus Livia Renata Souza. And Amanda Lemos, that is a 115-pound contender. Okay, like, it's starting to happen a little bit more often now. But when there's a girl, especially a 115-pound girl, who's a killer, like who can bang, it's like, whoa, that's going to be exciting to watch. Like, because you gotta figure, like, you got Wei Li, who's the 115-pound champion. She's going to fight Rose. Rose is one of my favorite fighters of all time. Absolutely. But, that is a rough go, man. Like, listen, I would have had a different opinion. It had, what's her name, not battered her up so much in the last fight. Like, she had a very brave fight in that last outing against, what's her name? The one that suplexed her. Oh my God, she's about to fight Valentina Shevchenko. Whatever, you guys know who I'm talking about. But she put it on Rose, and Rose, wanted that. But like, man, Wei Li is a whole different animal. So, but anyway, you figure after she wins that fight, what else you got at 115? So this is a real contender right here. Anyway, so then you had Sean Brady, who's undefeated, came in and murked Jake Matthews. And you got to see every aspect of this guy Brady's game, dude. He's great on his feet. He's got good defense. He took a really heavy shot, knocked him off his feet, and immediately you saw he's like, oh, he recovered he recovered immediately. Excellent wrestling, excellent jiu-jitsu. He's a killer, dude. He is Sean Brady is the real deal, man. That guy, and he's got his entire body's tattooed. And he's got this crazy like devil samurai on his back. I like him. Then Kennedy Najitsku versus Olberg. That's a second round TKO, and I missed it, so I can't really speak on it. Then you had Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza, and this was the one where Tim Elliott was smashing Espinoza's face, talking about, hey, I heard you like to beat women, dog. I heard you choked out a girl. And Espinoza's like, hey, man, you don't know the whole story. He's like, I know enough. Smash! So there's some drama there. But anyway, he beat the shit out of him. Then you got Benavidez, who lost to Askarov. I mean, really all the takeaways is like, the game has passed Benavidez by. He's been fighting forever. It's time. You know what I mean? He's not going to beat anybody good. Then the Kyler Phillips versus Song Yadong fight was bananas. If you got, oh my God, that fight was awesome. Okay. I was on Clubhouse. By the way, if you guys want to speak to me, okay, like if you actually want to like have a conversation, dude, I'm on Clubhouse now, son. Get on Clubhouse, follow me on Clubhouse, join the Fight Club. I'm in there all the time, rapping out, dude. Like it's amazing. I get in these Clubhouse rooms, and there are lots of like kind of people who are just fans, and there are also guys where their credibility is bulletproof. Like bulletproof. The entire reason why I don't try to do super technical breakdowns is just because I know there are guys who professional fighters for 25 years. I'm like, am I gonna like? I'm a great high level analyst. Like these guys can really break it down. I mean, there are like guys in these rooms that are like. I mean, I talked to Dan Hardy the other day. Like me and him spoke like back and forth about a bunch of stuff. I talking to some guy yesterday who's Taekwondo fucking gold medalist, and like a bunch of guys who are in Bellator. Robin Black was on there last night. He is a badass, by the way. I didn't know who he was, and he and I we rapped out for a long time. Dude, Robin Black is very impressive, very very insightful guy, super smart dude. My kind of dude. I look forward to whenever I'm actually in a room with him because that'll happen at some point. Anyway, so Clubhouse. But while we were in Clubhouse, everyone was watching this fight, the Kyler Phillips and Song Yadong fight, and it was just like Robin Black and me and a bunch of other people, and everyone was just like, dude, are you guys watching this fight? That fight's bananas. You guys should watch that for sure. Then Dominic Cruz fought Casey Kenny, and I thought Dominic Cruz looked great. I thought he looked pretty buff too. You know, like when he came into the octagon, I was like, well, something's different about Dominic Cruz. Something about his shoulders and his arms and his traps. He looks very muscular. Maybe he just weight trained, maybe. But really, like maybe he just weight trained. Like, but yeah, he just did look significantly more muscular to me. But I also thought he looked great in the fight, man. I thought he looked great. He's just like, his fighting style is just, it's all about make it to where you can't time me at all. And I'm going to try to time you. I'm going to disrupt your rhythm. I'm going to be obnoxious. I'm going to be in your face. Like, it would be like, that's the kind of thing I think that would, Peter Yan, that's why Peter Yan had such, as a matter of fact, I can go back to the Aljamain Sterling fight, like the actual fight, because it's exactly like this. Why Aljamain was having success in the first 2 rounds is exactly how Dominic Cruz has success, which is disrupt the rhythm of these guys who are real mechanical. You got to disrupt their rhythm. Like when they are dancing out there, and he intentionally has no rhythm, herky jerky, tap them when they're out, like unpredictable. You're not dancing, you're herky jerky, whatever. He's very effective doing that, and I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked really, really good. Aljamain too, and Aljamain put a pace on Peter Yan in those first 2 rounds that he couldn't. If he goes and in between this fight and the next one gets himself in the most unbelievably incredible, cardiovascular shape to where he could keep that up for 5 rounds, he'll win. Here's the other thing. Think about that as it relates to TJ Dillashaw and EPO, right? Seriously, I'm going to take this moment to illustrate why EPO is the number 1 cheat that you can do, okay? Like out of every single thing that you can do, testosterone, HGH, whatever else, okay? The thing that is the biggest advantage that is straight up cheating is EPO, okay? Because just look at the Aljamain Sterling fight against, Peter Yan, and imagine if Aljamain could keep the pace from the first round up for 5 rounds. He would win. And guess what happens when he's not on EPO? He can't keep the pace up, and so he doesn't win. It's literally, right there. You want an example of EPO? On EPO, you win. Off EPO, you lose. Boom. Aljamain Sterling versus Peter Yan. Right there. Okay? So take that and go look at TJ Dillashaw's career. It just is what it is, man. Like everyone's fighting the gas tank. If you can go full throttle for 5 rounds, it's an incredible advantage. It's just cheating. Anyway, the Alexander Rakic versus Thiago Santos was a little bit uneventful, but here's the thing, okay? So I gave Cyril Gane a hard time, Cyril Gane and Rosenstruck a hard time because I thought that fight was boring. It was like Cyril Gane fought a nice surgical chess match fight. Great. This fight, I would imagine people would look at this fight and kind of think it was similar, like, it was kind of boring. And I disagree, okay? Because what was going on in this fight is these guys are throwing murder shots, okay? Like when they throw shots, they are throwing put your face in the 8th row shots, kick your leg to where it detaches from your hip and flies out of the octagon shots. And because both of them have such incredible power, they're obviously very, very surgical about when they throw shots. Because, hello, when are you hittable? When you're like this? Or when you're like this, or when you're like this. Like, as soon as you throw a strike and commit to something, that is when you're available to get your head kicked off. So, of course, they're both tentative because they're up against a guy who is trying to put their teeth out of the octagon, right? And so I watch a fight like that, and I'm like on pins and needles the whole time because they're 1 shot from going night-night, and they're missing by very small margins. The Cyril Gane and Rosenstruck fight, they weren't taking chances like that. They weren't throwing hard shots. That's why I was like, okay, yeah, good. He won a technical fight. He wasn't trying to knock him out. These guys are trying to knock each other out, which is why I don't fault them for not having a super exciting fight. But nonetheless, Alexander Rakic is a nightmare fight, dude. I am very assuming he's the next one to fight Blachowicz. Oh gosh, they're gonna have never mind. They're gonna have what's his name fight him next. So. Man, I am having trouble recalling names lately. It's bizarre. I'm actually a little bit concerned about it because I know all of these guys' names. And I just, for whatever, like I'll remember it in 5 minutes and then I'll bring it up here. Anyway, but Glover Teixeira, Jesus. I mean, come on, man. And Jessica Andrade, Jesus, what is wrong with me? I need to go to the hospital, get my head scanned. Anyway, but now let's talk about Islam Makhachev because goddamn. Okay, so on this channel, I'm going to say this right now. On this channel, you know what? I'm going to save this for, you know what? Actually, I am not going to talk about Islam Makhachev. I am going to save that for a different video, okay? Let's just say I was very impressed with him, okay? So I'm going to do a separate video about Islam Makhachev's future now, okay? But that's going to be a totally separate video. Now, Amanda Nunes, what is there to say except that I only watched like one video after the, after the fights, and it was, I listened to, the Weasel, and he said he thinks that Amanda Nunes could fight till she's 48 years old and never lose. I totally agree. She is on another level, and I, again, also agree with Weasel. The only fight to make is against Shevchenko again. Okay, so for those of you who were not around during this period or didn't know they were watching the two greatest female fighters of all time fight, Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes have fought twice, okay? And I'll tell you why neither of those were actually decided, okay? Like, you've got two draws. Seriously, you have two draws. In the first fight, Amanda Nunes, you know how people talk about how Amanda Nunes used to have cardio issues, okay, that she's now solved? Well, the first fight against Valentina Shevchenko, Nunes won the first two rounds, and then in the third round, she gassed, and Valentina fucked her up, okay? So, like, Valentina won, it was 29-28, but if that fight goes 5 rounds, there is absolutely no question that Valentina was going to win that fight, okay? Because, like, Amanda Nunes was done. Like, she had nothing left. Valentina was not tired, and she whipped her ass in the third round. If it goes 4 and 5, it's Valentina wins, but Nunes wins because she won the first 2 rounds, okay? The next fight was a 5-round fight, championship fight. You got to also keep in mind, Valentina Shevchenko is fighting at 135. She's a natural 125er, okay, just to demonstrate how good she is. And this is now when you're in Amanda Nunes prime, okay? Like, Amanda is still getting better, but we're talking like inside of the last couple of years, right? And Valentina Shevchenko, they fought to a split decision that a lot of people thought Valentina won. It was very similar to, it was a surgical striking chess match, okay? Like, no one got hurt. Because both of them are so fucking good, but yeah, that's the fight you got to make. So it was a split decision for Amanda Nunes. Lots of people thought Valentina won. So that fight, if there's ever been a draw, okay, if there's ever been a fight that absent a 10-8 round, people could have just gone, okay, that's a draw. That's it, okay? Like that is just the definition, as I've talked about this a million times, why can't we just have draws? You want the example? There you go, right there. That is the fight that should have been a draw, okay? So, and then we had Izzy versus Jan Behovik. I probably should have put this first, I would imagine, but, hey, you come here for my personality, right? But Jan Behovik and Izzy, I was not surprised by the way this fight went. I was going through the bet options before the fight, and I'm like, I'm just not going to bet this. I have no idea what's going to happen. Like, none. I almost put a bet on Jan just because he had good odds, and I was like, God, I don't know, man. Like, I'm going to bet against Izzy, but then I'm like, I'm certainly not going to bet for Izzy because there's too many ways he can lose, and like, I couldn't make up my mind. And then I was like, but do the over under on the rounds. I was like, God, I just didn't even bet. I didn't even bet because I had no, and for it to go the way that it went, Izzy looked good for a while. Jan looked better than people expected him to. And what did I say? What did I say about Jan Behovik and why he was so dangerous? Because he closes distance so fast when he's striking, right? Because he can move in so fast, right? Like, he is a much better striker than people gave him credit for. And he did exactly what I said, which was like, I think people thought that Izzy was going to be able to range him. And I was like, no, man. When he starts striking, he comes with multiple strikes and moves in like he's coming at you, and he moves fast. So your ability to go backwards and get out of range is just, it's just not easy at all. And he proved that. And when he got the 2 takedowns, now look, everyone knew that on the ground it was an astronomical mismatch, right? But everybody was kind of like, well, he's not going to be able to take Izzy down. And when he got those takedowns, they were due to incredible timing. And it was because he made Izzy respect him on the feet. The only reason he was able to get those takedowns is because he made Izzy respect him on the feet. He was beating Izzy on his feet in the second round, right? So, Izzy had no choice but to respect him, and that's why he was vulnerable to the takedowns. I thought the scoring's fucking ridiculous. 10-8s? 10-8s. 10-8. Like 10-8 rounds. Listen, like I like that there are 10-8 round options, but they're not supposed to be just because a guy took a guy down on the ground. Okay, like you have to really smash a guy up to get a 10-8, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, but that's what I got. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. I'm about to make an Islam Makhachev video separate because I think my loyal Habib fans are going to like what I have to say about that. So if you like the content, subscribe and ring the bell.